3, 2, 1. That was like the world's shortest countdown. Thanks for the warning.
Are you there? Is anybody out there? Let us know. We'd like to know if anybody can hear us.
Well, you probably gotta give them like a couple seconds to like join us, and you've only been live for 15 seconds. People are not as punctual as you are.
Are you out there? Can you hear us?
I'm here.
All right.
Colleen. Coy. Okay. So, Barbara. Let's see what's happened.
So was everybody able to? I assume everybody got to see the
Roots Tech
presentation that we put out there. It was, I don't remember where we put it. Oh, we put it on YouTube. And then
you pasted it on YouTube, or
That's right.
uploaded to YouTube, and then we gave everybody a link on Facebook to go and watch it. So, I hope people are watching it. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know how
Presentation was great. There you go. Somebody watched it.
All right.
2 people watched it.
Yeah, at least the first slide or 2. Turn that thing off.
I can't promise anything. Your voice is probably really annoying. They're like, oh.
Well, I was sicker then. It was more like when I was finishing.
So Barbara says she shared the link with a lot of the missionaries.
Wow.
That'd probably be helpful.
I don't know. Maybe probable.
Or not. Or not helpful. Okay,
Alrighty.
so what's happened in the world of Ron since I haven't done this like
Couple
last
weeks.
like 4 times. Jared's been doing it with you.
Just busy working on stuff.
You're finally not sick.
Finally feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
Still have a little bit of cough, but
Little
that's
sniffles,
just
but not
too bad. 7 more temples or whatever announced. I think it was 7, wasn't it? In the general conference. So, oh boy.
Get ready for that family search.
That's right. India and a few other places. And Layton, Utah.
Russia or something.
Yeah. So that's going to be exciting.
We got you a podcast.
Well, did you get a podcast? You were trying, but I didn't.
No, I did it.
I don't know.
It's right here. Ready?
I don't know what that gives us.
SoundCloud.
So
how a podcast works, Dad. I feel like you should know these things since you're like technologically
well, I know
advanced,
what a podcast is.
So SoundCloud is a hosting like iTunes, but they allow us to host for free. So I figured we'd try it out. If people listen to it and they like it, then we can look into doing like iTunes or something else. But it's just there so that people like on the go or on the run, they're like, oh, I want to listen to this, but I don't have time this morning. They could listen to the podcast in their car and they could just play through the audio. I mean, granted, you wouldn't see the images, but at least you can kind of hear questions getting answered.
Or either that or we use it to just answer a question for a podcast.
It could be that too. Or like a sci-fi or something like that.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out what that means.
But yes, you got a podcast. You got a podcast as of this last week.
Okay. Well, if you have suggestions for the podcast, what you'd like to hear on that, if you want to hear it at all, let us know, and we'll figure out what we're going to use that for.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Let's see. Anything else? Getting ready for, I'll be at the BYU Family History Conference in
April.
August, I think it is.
August. We talked about this. It's August. And we have BYU Education Week the following week, also in August in Provo.
It's going to be a busy.
All I'm going to say is you might probably want to stock up on vitamin C that week.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll be doing that. BYU Family History Conference over at BYU and then Education Week.
I'll work on finding links for you guys this week, and I'll post them in the group so that you guys can see and get tickets if that's something that you're interested in coming to.
There you go. Colorado. All right. North Carolina.
Where are you?
Right there. Signing in from North Carolina.
The other one says Connecticut.
Happy to you from Colorado.
Thomas is from Connecticut.
Yeah. Well, welcome. Good to have you here.
Well, there you go. He stayed up late for you. That's a surprise.
Was it a time difference in
Connecticut?
It's like 2 hours. It's like 9:30. I'd be falling asleep.
You fell asleep in your chair at like 8.
Yeah, I'm too tired.
Oh, someone from California.
Worked too hard. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
What do we have for our first question?
Maryland. So we updated the form. I don't know if you guys saw it. I did change it in both places, and I tried to post it at least 3 times this week so that you could get the opportunity to do that. So if you don't see it, if you click in the pinned post at the very top of the page, you click on it and it expands. Down in there, there is a URL link to the new form. So feel free to put your questions there.
There was I noticed that I was answering some questions on
your
email
inbox.
Inbox, and I guess I can't click the stuff there because they can though, right? Send an email things. Okay.
Yep. So if you want, I can put those questions into the live questions. Then you don't have to answer them.
So we're fine. Okay. There was one person that posted on my inbox and Facebook that I didn't get an answer back, and it's probably relevant to more. He was talking about, well, first off, frustration about indexes are wrong on some things. You can't correct them. So we're working on that. That's part of our 2018 work that we're doing in the indexing world. And so stay tuned. Hopefully that'll come, sometime. It'll probably be late in the year, maybe early next year, where we can do some correction of indexes. But he mentioned in there that when he took an image and uploaded it and created his own source, but that he couldn't, or even when the source linker attached stuff, he couldn't edit the title. And that should not be correct. You should be able to go to any source and edit the title. I think that's correct. Even a FamilySearch source, you can't change the URL, but you can change the title. He was frustrated that he couldn't change the title, but you can. Just go in there and click the source, and then click view source, and you'll go into the thing that shows all of it, the title, the URL, the citation, and then you can edit the title.
Okay.
He wanted to attach something and then copy it and attach it and correct the title, and you can just correct the title.
Hello from Provo. Oh, you're so far away.
Provo, yeah.
Linden. Well,
Idaho.
Hayden,
Idaho. Murray, Utah.
Taylorsville.
Okay, what's our first question?
All right, are you ready for this?
So that was one that was sent to me from before.
Right,
so.
It was in your inbox.
Yeah.
Okay, this is from Eva. Wants to know, why do FamilySearch family tree employees hold on. FamilySearch employees
increase the font size.
Dude, I can read just fine. Make changes to records without quoting producing sources to verify.
All right. So what she's asking is, why is FamilySearch making changes to things on Family Tree and don't attach sources or things like that? Well, most of the FamilySearch entries you see on Family Tree were not done by a human. So let me just explain what we did. Well, we took data from an old system and we moved it to the new system. And when we first moved it to the new system, we put in people's names that contributed to data. Okay. And then they all started calling us on the phone saying, hey, my account's been hacked because I didn't edit that data on that day. I wasn't even in town. And so they started freaking out because they thought somebody had stolen their identity on FamilySearch. And so we had to go back in and we replaced all of those names with the word FamilySearch so that nobody would feel like their account has been compromised. But that makes it look like we made a lot of changes. So, for instance, when we moved from the old new FamilySearch system and put it into Family Tree the very first time, everything had FamilySearch on it except for the vitals. And then since then, people have been changing things and their names are on it. The only time that FamilySearch changes anything now is if we have a data problem. For instance, there was one recently with some memories. You might have seen it in the change log. It didn't really get rid of any memories, but there was some data problem where extra links were in there to the same memory. So some people saw that in the change logs where FamilySearch deleted these links, memory links. They worried that the memory was gone, but it wasn't. It was just a duplicate. And also, if somebody calls into support and says, hey, I got a problem with this person and I don't know how to fix it, and then support takes it and an admin will take it, then do a little research and then correct the person in the tree on your for you, it'll also show FamilySearch. So it's not very often that we're doing it. And traditionally, if they're helping a patron fix something, they'll put some comments and reason statements. But most of the family search that you see on there were migration of data from one system to another, and there wasn't any person involved in doing that. That was us in the computer. Yeah, we just moved it from one database to another database.
Got it.
And we put our name on it so people didn't think that their accounts were hacked.
Okay. Tara from Texas. Your home's
That's right.
Roy, Logan, and Holbrook, Arizona.
There you go.
All right. This is from Karen. I know that there are no current plans to add videos to memories. I have seen video links to YouTube added in the memories stories section. Is this permissible, or will FamilySearch restrict such use of posts in the future?
Well, we're not currently restricting if you put in a URL. And some people have put sources on with a URL that goes to some Dropbox or YouTube or someplace. That's fine. We don't have a problem with URLs going out. We occasionally we audit them to see if there's anything bad in there. People can do report abuse if the URL is going to something completely inappropriate, but we don't have any problem with that. If you notice, there's sources that go to different places, and we usually put up a little box that says, "Hey, you're leaving FamilySearch, so we're not responsible for what you're about to see."
Is this a trusted link?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Are you sure you want to go there? And so that's fine.
Okay. She also wants to say, thank you so much for all your work and being an entertaining personality.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm feeling kind of tired today. Didn't sleep good, and it was a long day.
Okay.
Busy day.
When you're setting up an account for a member, does the phone number and email they use to set up the account have to match the ones that show on LDS tools?
No.
Your dog is going to wear a diaper.
Just turn outside.
Okay.
Apparently we had a dog problem. Throw him outside. Shoot him.
Yeah.
Okay, you want me to repeat the question?
Tegan's dog just messed in the house. So.
In all fairness, he's a puppy. He's only like 5 months old. And he's deaf. We're working on training here, okay? Give me a break. All right. I'll ask your question again. Ready?
Please.
It's from Irene. Wants to know, when setting up an account for a member, does the phone number and email they use have to match the one in LDS
The
tools?
phone number and email does not have to match what was in LDS tools.
Okay.
Although we share information between LDS accounts, which is your LDS.org account, and our account. So those will be in sync, right?
Okay.
So, but it doesn't have to be what's in LDS tools. You can put any email address and any phone number.
That works.
Yeah.
Okay, and she did have a question. Does a podcast station mean where I can find it live on Facebook, or where to find it recorded later? So I guess we should give a little podcast 101. So we will upload them later like we do on YouTube. Podcasts just have audio. They do not have any visual. They're meant for like when you're on the go, or you're exercising, or you're riding the train, or whatever it may be. Currently we're being hosted on SoundCloud, and it's just Family History Wrong. So hop over there, click on it. I think I've only uploaded one
of the Q&A
sessions, because I was like, I wonder if this is going to work. I'm going to test it out. So test it out. Tell me what you hear. Tell me if it sounds okay, and you want me to keep going with the podcast idea so that you can stream while you're driving or whatever. So that's what a podcast is. Ish.
Okay.
Hey,
on the road streaming.
That's right. There you go. We get to listen to you all day.
Joy.
Irene wants to know, has the search filter changed when searching from a person page by clicking on the FamilySearch icon? The filter on the left of the search results page used to automatically include the birth info only. Now it automatically puts up the marriage and death dates. In training, I used to tell people that they should think that they are the record they are searching for, and fill out the filter accordingly. For example, if they're searching for a birth record, they would not put in marriage or death info for the best results. Was I wrong, or has this changed?
I wasn't aware that it would have changed. I didn't think it had changed. My guy didn't tell me that it changed. I'll have to go look that one up. Put that down on one of my things to figure out. But
Got it.
if it's yeah, that seems kind of weird because if you put too much in that form, it's sort of you're right. It's based on the records that you're trying to find.
Right.
Because no record has everything. Maybe death, maybe I have a birth and a marriage or something. But see, we feel like we do like Google. Google has hurt us a little bit. We keep adding more into Google to find less things.
Right.
But or to find more accurate
It's
things. And what happens in records is you put more stuff on it, and you're going to find less things. Because no one record has all that information.
Right.
So
it's the opposite of a refined search in Google.
Yeah, which is a struggle and it's an art, and I'll go find out if they changed that. I didn't think they did. They're not working on the person page for some time here, not till later in the year. So I'm surprised that would have changed.
Maybe. Who knows?
I'll have to try it.
All right. My next question comes from Debbie. She said, I received an email about my Ancestor Calendar, but where do I find it on Family Tree?
Oh, yeah.
Sounds super definitive.
Where is that?
Do you want me to?
How you like that?
Whoa. You were already logged in?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything.
Hold up, man. That's like insane pants.
What is it they were asking for?
She
Calendar.
received an email about an Ancestor Calendar, but where do you find it in Family Tree?
Okay, you go to www.familysearch.org/campaign campaign/calendar. And what it does is it'll give you a little calendar of it'll go through your line and pull out like ancestors that are born in, their birth dates or death dates, just dates from your ancestors. And it creates a little calendar that says what, your ancestors in January, February. Like looking at mine, I see that Hiram Turley and Pearl Seavey were married in 1896 on January the 20th or February 20th. And you can actually even click and have Facebook Messenger tell you about these anniversaries. So once again, that's www.familysearch.org/campaign campaign/calendar, and that's the page you go to. That email should have had a link in it that you could click it and it would go to there, but that's where it is. And it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to see the
different
birth and death and marriage dates of your ancestors, and it kind of can be interesting if you make a family event out of it. We're going to celebrate great grandpa's marriage date or birth date, and his favorite food was pie or something like that.
Okay.
And so that can make it fun and more interesting for the family.
Sounds good.
There you go.
All right. Grandma 39. I don't know if that means she has 39 grandkids or what that means, but
she's only 39. She's a grandma.
Or she's 39 and holding. Is there a way to rearrange the stories written in memories?
Nope. Not right now. This is a frequently asked question.
Probably why you went right.
Yeah, and so we're thinking about you can enter in a date, you can enter a place. We're thinking about maybe ordering it by date. Some people want to manually order it in a certain order, but it seems like most people are asking want to do it by date. The oldest one first or the newest one first. Backwards. And so we're thinking about date, and we're not prepared to do it yet. The team's working on some other things, so for memories.
Sorry, just making
but
sure that...
we're aware of that suggestion, and there's plenty of people who'd like to have that, so it's on the list of how we can order things.
Okay.
Okay.
Brian wants to know. Oh, she said. Karen says, "So cool! I didn't even know the calendar existed. You learn new things every day." Yeah. New wrinkle. You just got a new brain wrinkle, Karen.
Yeah, I used to tell the kids, man, work hard, go to school, get a new wrinkle. In your brain, when your brain grows, it creates that wrinkle, and that wrinkle comes from actually your increase in knowledge. So I always tell them, go to school, get a new wrinkle. Get a wrinkle today. Your brain.
All right. Brian would like to know, what are the differences among the methods of starting on Family Search Tree from LDS.org family booklet, quick start from the tools, and manually searching out and adding relatives to the tree. Is Family Circles almost ready? I'm really excited to see how that works.
That's multiple questions there. Okay, start again.
Okay. What are the differences among the methods of starting on Family Search, a Family Search tree from LDS.org to the family booklet, or quick start from the tools and manually adding or searching and adding relatives into your tree?
All right. So he's just basically talking about 3 ways to kind of get your tree started. One way that he talks about is the My Family booklet. That's a paper book that sometimes it's good to introduce to maybe younger kids or people who are still maybe not feel comfortable with a computer, or we found that people who fill out my booklet, it can be emotional because there's a space for putting names and dates, but also story. Cut out a little picture and stick it in there. So it kind of becomes a little heirloom for people sometimes. So that's a good thing. And so that's one method. I'll put it on here for the booklet. So you can go into Family Tree, FamilySearch.org, and say enter in booklet. So the thing with the booklet, on the booklet, you've written all that stuff into the booklet. And then now you're going to sit and open the booklet in front of a computer and type all that stuff again into the tree. Booklet. We call it the booklet ingest tool. You just say booklet, and then it puts a screen that looks like a page of the booklet. You type it in, go to the next page, type it in, go to the next page, type it in. Now, the good thing about the booklet is it remembers where you left off, so you can come back and continue it, working on it later. So you can put in part of the booklet and then stop and then come back. It'll remember where you left off to enter it all in. But essentially, once you've entered it all into this booklet tool, when you're done, it just creates your tree from the data in the booklet. So that's all that's doing. Okay, then the other thing is the help you get started.
And where does someone find the get started prompt?
Yeah, the get started prompt happens on the tree. When you first go into Family Search.
So I've already created an account.
You create an account. You log in. You go to Family Tree, and you're not a member. You haven't and you haven't entered anything yet. You haven't put in your membership number, or you're not a member, or you have your first convert.
Okay.
So there's nothing in the records.
Right.
Then it'll pop up a little box there, and it'll say, "Can we help you get started?" And you click that, and what that does is it runs a program we call First Run. What that does is it just simply asks you questions. Tell me about your father. And you type in the name and the birth date and stuff, and then you hit next. It says, tell me about your mother. And you enter in your mother stuff. And so it's kind of like the booklet. It looks a little bit like the booklet, but it's not as intense, and it asks you for a little bit of information. And it tries to go up through your parents, your grandparents. I think that's as far as it goes. And then when you're finished entering all that in, it asks you for each one along the way. Then you say, then when you're done, it takes you back to the landscape view, and you're seeing what you typed in on the landscape pedigree.
All right.
Okay. Now the third way
is what?
It's just in the landscape.
So this is also, I've logged in.
So these are all the, I logged in.
Okay.
I logged in, I went to the family tree, and I actually ended up on the landscape, and this little get started popped up, but I chose not to choose it. I didn't pick it.
Okay.
And I just started in the landscape.
Or you had a fat finger incident.
Maybe.
And X'd it out.
Could have. So I'm in the landscape, and now I'm just clicking add father on the pedigree chart.
Got it.
And I click it, add father, type it in, if it tries to find matches. All of these things do the exact same thing. There's only subtle differences. The subtle difference is the booklet, of course, you started with the paper. The getting started asks you for a set of information. It doesn't necessarily interrupt you to look for duplicates, okay, if you're going through the little getting started stuff, because we figure just get you really started and get your tree going, and then we'll find duplicates later. The landscape one is a little bit more messy because you click it, you type in the name and birth and a death or something, and then it'll say, hey, I'm searching for duplicates, and if it finds a match, you click it, and then it puts that in the tree instead of the one you typed in. So they're subtly slightly different, but they all do the same thing. They're all about trying to get you started, get your first generation, few generations in, with a hope to get you to the deceased level, so that now we can start hinting and showing you records about your family, and you can grow your tree and tap into the big giant tree if you happen to be related into that. Once you tap into big giant tree, it's just like, whoa, because it's just all the way out to Foreverland.
All right.
So there's that.
Big giant tree.
They all do the same thing, essentially, 3 different ways. Each one's slightly different in how they do it.
What method feels most comfortable to
Well, we
use.
started with the get started.
The pop-up.
The first run, we called it.
Okay.
And that worked really well. At the very, very beginning, we just had the landscape, so people had to type it in.
Okay.
Then we did the get started to sort of help people get going.
Okay.
And then they went out and did research and found that we needed to have something for people who don't have access to computers, and so they came up with the booklet. And then we wanted, hey, when they fill out their booklet and they give it to a consultant, we want to have a way for the consultant to enter it in. So that caused us to write the booklet ingest tool that would allow you to enter in the booklet. So they kind of evolved from different reasons, and it doesn't matter which one you use. The intent's the same.
Okay.
Okay.
Ruth would like to know, what is the one thing that you wish everybody understood about FamilySearch's family tree?
I don't know if there's one thing.
Well, pick the most important.
Well, the one thing I wish everybody knows is that we're a collaborative tree. I don't think we do a very good job telling that to people, and so people come in expecting us to be like other websites that are you have your own private tree, and I think we don't do a good enough job letting people know up front, hey, this is a collaborative, completely open edit, shared tree that we're all working together, so we don't have to do duplicate research and duplicate data entry. And if you want to come and participate, come and be a good citizen. I've talked for years about putting up sort of like 10 rules of a good citizen and have people, sign it and agree to it to say, yeah, I'm going to try to be a good citizen. And I wish we would top that. And then if I had a second thing I'd teach.
Whoa, all right.
Second thing I'd say, people don't understand relationships. That's the biggest hang up people have.
Okay.
And they're very simple. So that would be my second thing I wish people ever knew. It was collaborative and open edit, and don't panic. Your stuff is still good, and it's not getting lost.
Everything's in there.
Everything's in there. You can restore it if you need to, and how relationships work.
Okay.
Maybe later I'll talk about how relationships work.
Fair. All right. What do you think about virtual pedigree? Is it something that can be used as an enhancement to family tree? I don't quite understand its purpose.
Well, I'm assuming the only virtual pedigree that I can think of is the one that BYU did. They actually came and showed it to us. It's a BYU thing.
Created by BYU.
There was some developers. It's a cool tool. What it is it's a pedigree that as you go back, it just auto expands and contracts, so that you have one giant pedigree of your entire line. And you just, as you're walking around, it just kind of zooms in, paces, and zooms out. And it's kind of cool. I think that it's cool and it's interesting. I don't know if it gives us any particular advantage. I think that it's kind of interesting sometimes to see a big giant tree off the thing. But, the purpose of the tree is to navigate and to find places that need work done and things like that. So, I don't know. They did come and talk to us once. They offered to share some of that with us, and we were busy doing other things. So I don't know if it has a particular place. I think it's interesting, and I would encourage people to go over to BYU and check it out if you want to.
Okay. Oh.
I don't know if it actually gives you something specific.
What was the circle thing the previous person
you
didn't ever give them an update about family circles.
Yeah. I don't know if we're going to call them family circles.
Family groups.
What it is
bundles.
Basically it's sharing living is what it is. Sharing living amongst family members. That's what they meant by the circle. Mm-hmm. And, we've done a lot of wrestling and arm twisting, and we're going to start up a little prototype and build a little prototype version of it, and then start testing with some people. It probably won't be till late in the year before we get something that we might try a little bit with some people. We want to go slowly and carefully because, it's a new way of doing things again. I know people want it, but we need to make sure that we understand whether you're going to use it or not, or whether it's frustrating for you. So I'll let you know when it's time that you can try it, if we have an opportunity to do that, and then we'll get your feedback. But we're starting to work on it. There's a team spun up now that's going. We've done some paper prototypes. I demonstrated it, a little bit of it, in the Roots Tech presentation that I gave. Little screenshots of it, and I'll let you know.
Okay.
So it's coming, but don't hold your breath or anything. That's too long to hold your breath.
You might pass out. Just saying. She also wanted to let you know that she really enjoys Thursday Facebook Lives and answering the way you answer the questions, and she also really enjoyed watching you all the time.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
All right. Rachel wants to know, any tips to teach people on linking the living to the dead on FamilySearch? Maybe it's gotten better, but it seems like a lot of people complain that they get it linked up and then it's unlinked again. I don't have a problem relinking, but for some, we are trying to get going on family history in frustration, and they throw in the towel. But perhaps it's a situation that has improved in the last year.
Linking living to dead.
My assumption on that
That
would
is
be,
so easy to do. I don't get it.
it's not that it's easy. It's saying they link them and then it unlinks them.
No, we're not getting the full picture here.
Okay, Rachel, give us more info.
If you're here, if you're on, Rachel, tell us what you mean. Because that didn't make sense to me, or if somebody understands what that means. She's saying that people are frustrated linking living to dead, and because people are unlinking them, and I don't get that. I don't see how that would even happen. So let's talk a little bit about that, how that works.
Oh dear.
Okay. This is why I wonder. I can't see my other one, but that's okay. Okay. This is the majority of the tree. It's the public dead tree. Living is inside of each individual has their own living place. Okay. That's where your living is sitting. So let's say I have a person here. Person A, and that person A is linked to dead one up there. And I say, this is my father of that person.
Got it.
Okay. This link right here, nobody sees. There's nobody sees this link up here. So up here, they don't see that this person is linked to this living person because that would expose this living person. So I don't understand how anybody could bust this link when they don't even know that it's there, right? I'll have to check. I don't think if you merge two things over here, that link should stay. I'm going to have to check on that. Write that down.
How do you want me to word that?
Merge dead people, what happens to living links? I think they get copied over, so they're fine. Wait, I'm seeing something over here. Maybe she's thinking that once she links herself to the dead.
It should also show that her children and spouse, not understanding that each person has to build the bridge, even if she's been done on her account.
Oh, okay. So somebody out there is suggesting that maybe what you're thinking is, here's my, so I'll write this again. So here's Ron over here. Here's my living area. And I put in myself, here's Ron, and I link to my deceased dad. And then over here is Tegan. She's here. Tegan will not see, Tegan right here. Tegan will not see this living link because it's a living link and she's not, doesn't own it. So she has to link. See, she has a copy of me inside of her area, so she links up to me as my dad, as our dad, and then she has to link this one up to here for her grandpa. So she has to do that herself, or if she's a member of the church, since we're multi-generations, when she logs in, it automatically created a tree with her in it, with a copy of me in it, linked up to my deceased father, which is her grandpa. So someone suggested that maybe you think when you put this up here, your kids get to see your stuff, and that doesn't work because that would violate privacy laws. So we cannot show that living. So each kid has to link up enough to get to the common dead up in the public tree. Then you see all the dead together. All the deads can be seen by everybody.
Got it.
Okay. Thank you for the suggestion out there. We've given both explanations.
Hopefully one of them was what they were looking for.
Yeah, I hope so.
All right. Barbara would like to know, I recently found a 1-year-old child in the 1870 census. He was not listed in the 1880 census and had not been added to the family tree. His ordinances have become available. Besides sealing him to his parents, do we do all of his other ordinances?
Well, no, it's not necessary. Well, you don't know when he died. How does she know that they died in one?
I don't know. Barbara, if you're on, do you have a death date for this 1-year-old?
Yeah, I would guess not. But you don't know if the baby died at 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. If you're looking for census, right? And he's in the first census, but not in the second one. That's like 10 years apart.
Yeah, he should be 10.
So it's unclear.
Or he could have died in that.
But if you believe he was an infant, Peter,
I'm here.
Living dead, my
hello,
Peter. Yeah.
No, he wasn't on the 1880. Do you have a death certificate or some kind of death proof, Barbara?
That could have been age 9. Yeah. So you have to determine whether or not that child died before the age of 8 or not.
Okay.
If they died before 8,
then no.
Then you don't need to do any of the ordinances. If you're not sure because you don't have a death certificate, then you can put in died at about before 1880. You could put the death was before 1880, making an assumption, and put in there.
You think that
put in there that it's
either 9 or 10 or something?
Yeah, put in there. Assume that they are over 8 years old. David Rencher, our CGO, just put in do all the ordinances, so that's correct. If you don't have evidence that it died as an infant, you need to assume that they were over 8. Go ahead and do all the ordinances.
So, go, Barbara. That's a green light.
Yeah.
All right. Jane Brookman wants to know, how do I delete duplicate sources showing that are to be added? I only need the one source one time.
Okay.
Talk about the collapsing sources. Just be Philip. You can do this. Take a deep breath. Take a sip of dark pepper. Okay? You can do this.
All right. So, interestingly enough, can you believe it? Can you believe that people went out and filmed records, and there was actually more than one copy of a record? This is what I smile about. One county had these records. Well, guess what? The county next door probably had half of the records that the other county had is probably in the other county because they didn't want them to have to travel to that county to get it. Okay, so there's duplicates all over the place. And when we go in and film the records, we don't sit and look at each one and say, have we already filmed this before? We just film them all. And then we index them all, and then we put them up. So even though it is the exact same image, the computer is not going to tell that they are the same because we base our uniqueness on the URL. So we look at the URL. If you look at it, it has like arc, colon, and some numbers and stuff. If that URL is different, we in the computer believe that they're different sources. They're different sources. So if you deleted it, we're just going to hint it back. Okay. You don't want to be annoyed by the hinting.
So. And
you don't want to mark it as not a match because we want to account for everybody in all the records.
Right.
So just attach it and have a duplicate one sitting there. We are in discussions right now about updates to that sources section.
Okay.
And one of the things we're interested in doing is allowing you to collapse sources together. So you can say, this source, and this source are really the same source. And so it'll collapse into a single line with a little drop-down arrow probably that says this one source is all the same, but it's really 3 sources in case somebody wants to look at it and make sure you didn't collapse it wrong.
Right.
So I know you don't need the extra source, but the hinting engine is watching to see if there's a record inside the system that hasn't been accounted for and put into the tree, and we'll just hint it back to you.
So in short, don't delete it.
In short, don't delete it.
Leave it there.
Yeah, and we're also doing 2 things. Not only we're looking at the collapsing thing, but the team is also examining how they can remove duplicates in the rolls of the film that you reported. So we sent that information. They're looking at it. The plan is they will remove those images from the set and republish. We just haven't done that. I don't know when that would happen. I was hoping earlier. Hasn't happened yet. So I just advise you to keep going. Some people try to arrange them. It's like these are vital sources, these or whatever. Put the duplicates down at the bottom or something. You can arrange them in the order you want, and then maybe they won't bother you so much because they're down at the bottom or something.
Yeah.
So I recommend just attaching them, and then we're going to come up with a solution later to help you.
Okay.
I know it's not one that you probably like to hear.
Our last question for tonight.
Okay.
Is from
We went through
Ginger.
14 questions already. Huh?
Yeah, you're like, I don't know.
I'm like
what
on fire
happens,
today.
But you apparently are like Speedy Gonzalez today. All right. It's from Ginger. Is it possible to add a feature to the temple reservation list in the shared section to be able to share with friends and family? Right now, you have to go to unshare them with the temple and then go back and share them with your friends and family. Don't think too hard.
I'm trying to figure out what she's saying. She's saying,
so
I shared it with the temple, and instead I want to share it with my friends.
Right, so for her to...
And the way you do that is you unshare and then you share.
Right, so she's asking if there...
I don't want to do the unshare and the share. I just want to push a button that says share.
No, she says, is there a feature that you could add to the temple reservation list that could say, I want to remove it from the shared list, put it back in my pod? So
yeah, you just unshare.
She's asking if there's a drop down or a button that you can say unshare with the temple and it'll come right back. Not that she knows that you do unshare and then share. She's just asking if there's a feature to make it shorter.
No. I mean, you can unshare just by selecting them out of the list and click unshare, and it's back on your list. That's pretty simple.
Maybe.
But we don't have a one button to say, take it out of the temple list and give it to my friend. Those are 2 separate things. You have to take it out of the temple list first and then share it with a friend.
So maybe, I don't know if this will work because I haven't done it, but maybe you open 2 tabs of a browser. One is the temple list and one is where your own list where it's going to end up, right? Or like the person page to re-reserve it.
You don't have to re-reserve it when you unshare it. It's still reserved.
So it just comes back to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what you do is you have the unshare tab open, like the temple reservation tab, and then you have the tab where it's going to come back to you. You just refresh them.
It's the same list.
And you'll see it.
Yeah, it should be there. I don't know if I understand the question. Read it to me again.
Is it possible to add a feature to the temple reservation list in the shared section to be able to share with your family and friends?
We have that feature.
Right now, you have to go unshare them with the temple and then go back and share them.
That's right. Because we don't allow you to you have to unshare them from the temple because the temple has them in their list. So we have to go through a process. So I guess we can look at some button to do that. But we'll have to look at it.
She also wants to know, is it possible to share with family and friends only certain temple ordinances instead of sharing them all?
Yeah, unfortunately not. We were in a hurry when we did our share with family and friends, and we just shared the whole reservation. Now we're revamping all of the ordinance stuff. We started that work this year.
Okay.
It's going to take us most of the year, and part of that work will include allowing you to share individual ordinances to friends. So
okay.
You'll be able to do just like you shared to the temple. You can say, I only want to give them baptism, confirmation, or only want to give them endowment. And you can do the same thing with family and friends when we get completed in our work. So it'll be, we started this year. It's going to take most of the year, some of next year. So Don't hold your breath again. But that's the intent, is to be able to share individual ordinance to your family and friends.
Okay. Maureen wants to know when
Well,
checking out. What are you doing?
What am I supposed to do? Don't touch
that.
that. Can I scroll this up?
Oh.
There was some up above. I thought
we answered most of these, dude.
Did we answer this one up there?
Go down.
That one there?
Yes.
Oh, no,
that was
how about this one? Oh, no,
That's
we did
what
that
we were
one.
talking
What about that one?
That was the one I was trying to read, and you like
When
scroll happy.
No, when checking out a hint and attaching, there are those tagging options at the bottom. Gender, name, dates, etc. Where does the info go? When is a purpose? Okay.
What is the purpose? And
so when you're tagging, or when you're
tagging options at the bottom.
When you attach a source, you get options on the bottom to where to tag. What tagging does is says the idea is this source is about a birth. This source is about their name. This source is about their death. Okay. And so when you check the box to say what is it about, it tags it to the conclusion in the vitals section. Okay. So when somebody clicks on the conclusion, like the birth, they click it to edit it, they see the birth, the reason statement, and all of the tagged sources that talk about the birth. Well, she doesn't know what you want. Text her.
I'll text you. Got it. I'm on it.
Okay. Okay, does that make sense? So that's what it does when you tag. It puts it next to the birth or death or christening or name, and that's supposed to represent a source that gives some validation to that name you chose or that birth that you chose. Okay, let's see. Next one, like an immediate forward. Yeah, that's what you're right. I think that's what she wanted from the instead for take it out of the temple list and send it to the friends. Just go push one button that does both of them. Certainly could do that. Is there another one?
I don't know. Now you're going the wrong direction.
That's it, right? I'm all the way down.
Makes sense. Okay. Well, do you want to tell them about anything really exciting?
Okay. So anybody else have any questions out there?
You can give them a minute.
Yeah, we got time for some questions.
They're a little delayed.
Yeah. Okay.
Tell them something cool. What's coming out in the next month of FamilySearch? By April 30th, what's going to exist on your tree? And go. This isn't looking very promising. I just want to know.
Hard. I guess I probably need to let you know that the relatives around me on the mobile app, we've changed the distance that it looks for people.
Okay.
It's now, instead of it was 100 feet, now it's 300 feet.
Okay.
The reason we did that is because people were wanting to use it at family history fairs and stake centers, and they're just a little bit bigger, and so we weren't covering the whole building.
Shucks.
So now it's 300 feet.
Okay. P.S. Melissa says she loves this part.
She loves this part?
We need to tell them about new exciting things. Okay. You do have a couple questions, though, if you can't think of anything else.
If you notice the URL, just a warning to you, if you notice that your URLs that you may have bookmarked may not work, sorry. The reason why is we had to change the way the URLs. If you paid attention to your bookmarks or URLs, you notice that Family Tree now in the landscape view and others, it's changed. The PID used to be in the middle of the URL, now it's at the end.
Got it.
We had to change that for some technological reasons. So some of your bookmarks may be broken, or some of the people who are helping may have older bookmarks that are not working. And just say, well, just go to the PID and make it refresh the bookmark, and they'll be okay.
Okay. So Linda says, why do some marriage sources show as sources and others don't show under the marriage section?
Yeah, well, we got a problem, okay?
Oh, dear.
This stems from way back when sourcing and hinting wasn't part of my responsibility.
Ooh, okay.
So I always felt like the relationship sources should show on the relationship. That was the intent of Family Tree. We never did write the code to show those relationships on the person page, which was a mistake. We didn't get it done. And so the team, when they started doing the source linker where they're attaching things through the little quick attach thing, they felt, and rightfully so, that sources are about a person. It's about their death, their marriage, their children. It's about everything about the person. So those sources belong on the person page.
Okay.
So recently, the team, because they know how passionate I feel about sources on the relationship, started putting sources on the relationship in addition to putting them on the person. And that's perfectly fine. I had a problem with that. It was great. I loved it. But then people started complaining about duplicate sources. They said, well, I got it on the relationship. Why do I need it on the person? And so it caused frustration by the community. And so they stopped putting them on the relationship object.
Okay.
So it's just a place we haven't settled on where we want to do it. And,
Can you make up your mind?
well, I know what I want, but it takes some work, but it's not really high priority work. I want to spend the engineering time doing some
Exciting
more,
features.
fixing some problems we have and making it faster and making it work better. So that's why they appear there, and then they quit appearing there, is because we turned it off because there were a bunch of complaints from the community.
Okay. Sonia says, if you have someone that has their baptism and confirmation done, but then a closer family member decides they don't want to do that, they don't want anything else done, can you finish or can you not?
Well, now that's a delicate question. If you, I don't know if you were the ones that did the baptism and confirmation, but if it's within the 110-year rule, the expectation is you get permission from the closest living relative, one of the closest living relatives.
Right.
And you're not supposed to go like hunt for the one that says yes. And if somebody said no, you have to stop. It's not like go find somebody else to say yes.
Until somebody says yes. It's not like a little kid asking mom and dad for the same thing.
Right. So you should honor their desires if they're the close living relative, and just not finish it.
Okay.
And they'll change their mind later, or you can ask them in a year or two. Maybe they feel different. But that's the expectation. That's why we have the 110-year rule.
Okay. Deborah says, at Roots Tech, my sister said it would have been nice if the relatives around me that you could see at conference could be downloaded. Yeah,
there's some, we have some mixed emotions about that. The problem is all of those people that are on the list are living people. And there's privacy issues. So when people opted in, they didn't opt in for you to be able to save that and know who they are. So they only opted in to share that for that moment. So I have on my list to go visit with legal and see if there's an option we can put in there to allow people to share their relationships and keep those lines of communication open in a more longer term way. But we couldn't do it at the time because it's a legal privacy issue.
Okay. Let's see. Well, no, the other way. Yeah, okay. About sourcing relationships, I was frustrated that when we sourced a marriage event, it didn't print on the family group record. Only sources on the person pages print in the family group record.
Yeah, that's a good point. Send that one to me. We ought to think about that.
So demanding, is he? Source marriage.
Just saying,
event didn't print.
Family group record doesn't show relationship sources. We'll have to go look and see if we should, how we would do that.
Record.
Okay, she said, I agree with Deborah. One cousin kept appearing and disappearing.
Yeah, that's when they were at Roots Tech.
Kept appearing and disappearing on the list. Well, that's because the app, interesting enough, at Roots Tech, it was a smashing success. I hope everybody really enjoyed the relatives at Roots Tech. We found there was about a little over 8,000 people that participated in that.
Yep.
There was well over 2 million relationships found during that Roots Tech time. And the relationships you saw were only the closest 300. I thought it was funny that, I can't remember his name, the comedian that was running the show, Hewitt. He was Jason Hewitt. He kept saying, who's got the most cousins? Who's got the most cousins on the screen now? 312. Well, you really probably had about 1,000 cousins listed, but we only showed you the closest 300 some odd. And the next time it refreshed, it would have gone back down to 300. So, but it was fun. It was a great time. And they appeared or disappeared because they weren't the closest 300, or they got out of range and weren't seen. Although I think in the relatives at Roots Tech, we allowed it to stay, even if you were outside of the bubble, you could look at it, but it wasn't something you could print or keep for a long time. Okay, so the next one's from Melissa. Oh, let's see. Rather than having a pop open
the marriage adding the source, but it isn't subsequently listed in the overall sources list.
That's the problem. That's the problem why we're struggling with where to put that source, because currently we don't show relationship sources on the person page, which is what we need to do. But we haven't done that.
Melissa says, as a convert and both my parents being adopted, I have no information on their family, and their parents are dead, and immediate family doesn't know. Sources aren't pulling up. What should I do?
Is this appropriate?
She wants to know if it's appropriate to ask on live.
Oh, is that what it is?
We just asked the question. Yeah.
Yeah, it's appropriate to ask this. If you were adopted, then you have the right to do your adopted family. I would suggest, if your parents, they're probably not coming up because they probably haven't been in any kind of records that are old enough. Remember, the government doesn't release records for like 72 years. Yeah. And so odds are they weren't born in the 1940 census. They were probably not born yet if it's just your parents.
Or they were born like 41 or something.
Yeah, well, unless you're old like me, because my mom was born in 1935, so she was in the 1940 census. So if they're not finding the 1940 census, you'll have to look around to I'd go to Ancestry or talk. Then the immediate family member, don't know their parents either. Huh? Isn't that interesting? You could look at death records. You can see if you can find their death records in the county where they died. There's websites that let you search for that, and that's what I would do next. Go to the counties where they lived and died and see if you can get those death certificates or birth certificates from them. In the county where they were born, they should be available for you. And that should list their parents, and that'll give you a way to kickstart. That's what I do as a quick, 3-second sort of advice there. I'm sure there's others on Facebook that would like to help you out, let you know some of the tricks that they know.
Yeah. Okay. Go down. Oh, Marie was saying they were using that find a relative or whatever. She said we were standing next to each other, and then she would just disappear. Oh.
Well, that's interesting.
Okay, Stacy says, I love how into family history you and your family are. If they only knew. Thanks for inspiring us with each of these Facebook Lives. My gratitude is overflowing. Thank you. FamilySearch wouldn't be what it is today without your love and work.
Well, thank you very much. Well, I'm certainly very passionate about it. Yeah. I wouldn't say, David Rencher's on here. He's laughing probably right now. I wouldn't say I'm a genealogist and a researcher, but I understand the value of getting to know your family, and I understand the value of having these stories and histories of your family and understanding where you came from, and then using those to teach your children and to live your life in a way that's noble and respectful and and feels good to honor your ancestors. So I understand the value that can bring, the completeness a person can feel with family history. So I'm passionate about it. And I just want people to have that same connection, that same feeling that they're part of something greater. Like I said before, and I mentioned before, what I'm surprisingly finding out in the tree is that we are really one family. And the tree is continuing to grow, and I kept expecting to see little different pockets of trees, in different places. And in reality, it's one giant tree. And as people continue to enter their lines, there's always a way that it connects into the same tree. It's just phenomenal to see that. And it just means that we're all connected. Yeah. And it's true. At Roots Tech, they said when you're connected and you know each other's connected, you treat each other differently. And you do. When you know you have a connection, whatever that connection is, you treat each other better. Yep. So thanks. I try to keep my energy up. Sometimes I get pooped, but when I get going, I can't stop. It's just me.
That is also true. Sue wants to know about DNA.
DNA for adoptees research. No.
So like adoptee research. Promoting. For Melissa, maybe try DNA.
Oh, you could try DNA and see if you can find. But she already knows her close relatives.
No, but she can find her birth parents.
That'll find your birth parents. She wasn't necessarily looking for a birth parents.
No, but she could find the birth parents and then tap into their line.
Yeah, you could do that.
You could find another set.
Okay, let's see.
On the past issue with My Heritage syncing, changing, all the sources for people in the tree.
Yeah, Robert Givens just sent this thing. Him and I have been communicating
Can you
through
speak
emails.
English?
Okay, MyHeritage, they had a little problem with their synchronization process. It had to do with their Family Tree Builder product that someone had an old version of, and it incorrectly synced with the Family Tree version of their system, which then caused that his line that he had in MyHeritage to sync over to Family Tree, and it damaged several thousand persons in the tree. We continue to work with MyHeritage to restore the issues that happened. Basically, you're a victim of this thing because what happened is it essentially deleted all the sources and added all the sources back. But when it added it back, it left off data. It still had the URL and everything, and the URL and the citation, but it all became personal sources instead of family search sources.
Got it.
It got disconnected, and some vitals got changed and so forth. And so we're still working with them. We're testing out a fix earlier this week. It's not quite there yet. We're testing out in beta to make sure we're not going to do any more damage to the things. So the intent for them to do, the expectation, is when we run this, that it will delete all the bad stuff they put in and restore the old stuff back.
Basically, it's going to rewrite the
correct
source.
We're still noodling, Robert, on what do we do for somebody who's gone in and changed it. And
during that time period.
because we don't want to mess with something that somebody added after the fact.
That's tricky.
So we're still struggling with that one. But we're still working through the issue.
Okay.
But they've been kind enough to block it. They're no longer synchronizing Family Tree Builder stuff. They're very conscientious and very hardworking, and they're working very hard to get this resolved.
Okay. If your parents weren't, whoa, dudes, quit scrolling. If your parents weren't married and were married to someone else, who does their mutual child get sealed to?
If your parents weren't married,
so they had a kid on wedlock. They both got remarried. Which
so the rule is if the two individuals did not live together as husband and wife, then you're not to seal the child to those set of parents.
Okay,
so then what you do, traditionally what people do is they go and get permission and you can contact support to help you through this, is you seal the child to the grandparents of one of the set of parents, either the mom's side or the dad's side.
Got it.
The important thing is to get the sealing done, but the policy says that if the man and the woman didn't live as together, then you shouldn't seal the child to the parents.
Makes sense. Okay, my son and I were listed as aunt and nephew when they used the app. They were actually like
my son and I were listed as aunt and nephew.
Yeah. So
I don't know what that means.
Okay, she was using the Find My Relatives app at Roots Tech.
Oh.
Her son and her were listed as an aunt-nephew relationship instead of a mother-child.
Yeah, that's because there's a little issue there. There's a little issue there because it's not looking right in the relationship. So,
okay.
Sorry. I think you knew that she was a son. I think.
I would hope that she knows.
I would think that too. And I think he knows you're a mother.
Just because of how that happened.
Okay, I think we're done.
Let's see.
It's 11:34. This eye right here is getting tired.
You can do it. Roots Tech had a speaker who showed us a Google Chrome extension called Record Seek. Maybe that will help.
Well, all Record Seek is a third-party app that it's a plug-in to your browser. And when you go to some site and you find a source, you can click the Record Seek and it'll copy the data of the source and create a source over on Family Tree. That's all it does. It doesn't help you find a record. It just helps you link a record from another site on the Family Tree.
Got it.
But there are other places that look for records. Ancestry, you can look there for records. You can MyHeritage.
Okay.
All those.
Okay, last one is really quick. Wait, I can seal a child to a grandparent? Grandparent?
Yeah, you can.
You have to get permission?
Well, you just need to contact support, get the process. I haven't done it personally, but yeah, you can have a child sealed to grandparents.
Okay, so I guess
that doesn't mean you make them as a child.
Right. They'd still be a child
Yeah,
under.
I think you
parents.
would do. I think what they'll have you do, and I don't know the process, so please call. Is they'll have the child. You'll attach to the grandparents, and you'll say foster or something like that. And then, but go check with the support. I don't know. I don't want to do it wrong. Okay. Okay, we're trying to close here.
Hold on. My son is coming. I guarantee you he's going to want to come over and see me. Just, Mom, kick him back.
I have 5 times.
Okay, well, we need to close up here. So thanks very much. We're getting called on. Her boys like having a cow and wants to see him. It's 8:35. So thank you very much for the evening. I hope this was good for you.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, and keep sending those questions in, and we'll keep answering them.
Okay,
Thanks very much.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.